Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Matt with OddsJam, and today's Friday, so I will be doing my 4 sharp picks for this week's NFL Sunday slate. For those of you who are familiar with these videos I've been doing all year, you understand the process, but for those of you who are new, I do one lock, one underdog, and then one player and game prop. The rules for the lock are the odds can't be worse than minus 200, so either I can take a money line like Ravens minus 195 would work, or I can take a spread like the Bills. I can buy the points down a little bit to get to below minus 200. The underdog has to be plus money, so there aren't any examples of it this week, but it can't be a situation where neither of the teams have plus money. It's like minus 115, minus 105, something like that. And the same rules for the player and game prop. Odds can't be worse than minus 200. And obviously, the whole bread and butter of OddsJam is positive expected value bets. So all these 4 picks are all going to be positive EV. And let's get into it. Let's start off with the lock. And the last thing I'll mention is they're all for NFL Sunday. So obviously, we don't have any Monday night or Thursday night games this week. But we do have 2 Saturday, and those aren't included. So just for Sunday. And starting off, I always like to go in order. So the lock, I try to find a situation where the odds are where I can just take a money line that is better than minus 200, so I don't have to mess with buying a spread down. There are a couple options. The Ravens minus 195 isn't great. Tyler Huntley, I do enjoy him. I think he's pretty good, but he hasn't been. He's still splitting reps a little bit with Lamar Jackson, even though I know Lamar Jackson didn't practice Wednesday. He's gotten in some limited work. So in Big Ben's last game with the Steelers, they just put a stomping on the Browns last week. So you never know how that's going to turn out. Initially, the Packers seems like the easiest one, but they're obviously so low at minus 159. They're probably going to be resting starters. And if there's any team to take advantage of a team resting starters, it would be the Lions, who, despite being terrible, still managed to try hard. And if there's any team, like I said, that's going to ruin their draft position the last week of the year, it would be these Lions. So no dice there. So after looking through everything, the team I ended up settling on was the Chargers. So I did a video previewing this game because it's the only winner gets in, loser gets out playoff game, and I took the Chargers. I had them at minus 139 on BetRivers, but luckily they're still positive EV. So obviously the way I could tell is the best odds aren't the OddsJam perfect line. So it looks like both of these plays, Raiders and Chargers, are positive EV, but I'm sticking with the Chargers for all the logic that I mentioned on the last video. And I'll detail that a little bit here. I think this Chargers team is really good. They have the 3rd ranked offense in the NFL according to DVOA. They have struggled on defense, but the Raiders really haven't had a great offensive season. They've been struggling on offense, and their defense is even worse. They have like a defense ranked in the 20s. So I expect Justin Herbert to be able to move the ball. The last time these two teams played, so if you look at let me go to the Raiders' schedule. And so there's a couple things I want to point out with their schedule. One, these two teams played earlier in October. The Chargers won. Don't take too much out of that because it was earlier. It was so far away earlier in this season, but they still did win, and that was a game where the Chargers, they won by 14 with a late touchdown, but the Chargers, I think they're the better team. But the main reason why is I think that the line is being a little bit, the line isn't as high as I think it should be in favor of the Chargers, because I think that the Raiders are getting too much love for this recent 3-game win streak. So if you look at the teams they beat, winning 3 straight does look good, but they only scored 16 points against a bad Browns defense. And if you remember this game, it was a game where the Browns were out their top 2 quarterbacks. So they started Nick Mullins because both Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum were on the COVID list. To be fair to the Raiders, this was a little bit of a weird game. It was supposed to be played on Saturday, December 18th. It got moved to the 20th because of the Browns' COVID issues. So you give them a little credit that they did pull out the win. But going against the third-string QB, you've seen a couple games now where the team's top 2 quarterbacks have been out, and this game was the closest the third-string QB came to winning. Next week, they beat the Broncos. Again, Teddy Bridgewater got hurt that game. Drew Lock came in. Or Teddy Bridgewater had, let's see, I believe he missed the game. So Drew Lock had the majority of the stats, but even he missed time with the shoulder injury. So the Broncos are also under their third string QB for a little bit. Obviously, Lock came in and finished the game, but he had trouble with his shoulder. And then last week, on paper, this win against the Colts looks really good because the Colts have been riding hot. But Carson Wentz, the unvaccinated genius he is, got COVID and missed practice all week. So he wasn't able to practice all week, and he wasn't officially activated until the weekend. So he missed all of practice. And he admitted after the game, while he didn't think that COVID was the reason, he did admit that things just seemed a little off, that he didn't quite seem himself and the offense didn't quite seem himself. I mean, the Colts, he missed a wide open T.Y. Hilton that could have been a huge game. And the touchdown he did throw really should have been intercepted because it was thrown into double coverage and just kind of tipped up to T.Y. Hilton. So, again, the Raiders, I give them props for beating the teams they should beat. But against the Chargers, I just think the Chargers are better. So I'm sticking with them as my lock of the day. Minus 154 on WynnBet is the bet. I got them at minus 139. But like I said, they're still positive EV at minus 154. So that'll be my lock of the day. So for my underdog, kind of went through the same process, found a situation where the plus money line was positive expected value. I don't want to touch these two games because I don't know who the Packers are going to be playing. And while I do think the Lions do have a decent chance of winning, I'm not quite comfortable enough putting my money on them. The team I ended up settling on, and this might seem like a surprise to some, is the Seattle Seahawks. And I have a couple reasons for this. One, so the Cardinals, I think, being minus 265 money line, I think is giving them a little too much credit for that win against Dallas last week. It was an impressive win. You know, Dallas had been riding hot, winning a couple games recently, mainly riding their defense. But the Cardinals almost blew it at the end. They got lucky that the fumble that Chase Edmonds had was ruled down. And they almost blew it. And aside from that, I mean, there's been a lot of chatter about the Cardinals struggling to end the season. It's been a theme Cliff Kingsbury's whole career. And this 3-game losing streak was just brutal. I mean, losing to the Rams, division opponent, I believe it was a Monday night game. That isn't terrible, but losing to the Lions, not only did they lose, they just got absolutely smoked. This Colts loss is kind of similar to the Colts. Losing to the Colts. It's kind of similar to the Raiders beating the Colts in that it looks better on paper, or looks worse. Looks better. Sorry, I'm fumbling over my words. It looks worse than it really was on paper. Losing to the Colts, a team that's hot, doesn't look terrible, but this is the game where the Colts are out 4 of their starting offensive linemen. And the Cardinals only managed to put up 16 points, and they really couldn't take advantage of that. So they got the win against the Cowboys last week. That was good. Technically, the Cardinals are still alive for their division if they win and the Rams lose. But just last year, the Cardinals, all they needed to do was win 1 of their last 2 games last year, and they lost both. So I don't think that this game being meaningless to Seattle and having a lot of meaning for the Cardinals, that doesn't make me have any more faith in the Cardinals. And if anything, personally, I can see this being a game where the Seahawks are motivated because it's possible that it's Russell Wilson's last game in Seattle. So the Seahawks have been really struggling since Russell Wilson got hurt. So he got hurt in this Rams game. He came back against the Packers game, and they've really been struggling. So shut out against the Packers, only 13 points against the same Cardinals team, 15 against Washington. Had a good win against the 49ers, legitimately good win. Beat the Texans, not saying much. Lost to the Rams in a game, again, the offense just couldn't do anything. And then lost to the Bears and a start by Nick Foles. But finally, they played a bad defense in the Lions, and they put up 51. It's the best the team has looked all year. And obviously the Cardinals' defense isn't as bad as the Lions, but I am expecting the Seahawks to continue their hot streak and kind of play in what could quite possibly be Russell Wilson's last year with the team. And fading the Cardinals towards the end of the year has been profitable, basically Cliff Kingsbury's entire year. So that is going to be my underdog of the day, as you can see in the screenshot here. For the player prop, my favorite thing is just to look at the positive expected value page. I filtered it out so it's just NFL. What I ended up settling on was this Brandon Ayuk over 3.5 receptions. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, sorry, I should go back. The Seattle, the best odds are plus 240 on PointsBet. I should mention that. Sorry. Anyways, back to this player prop. So Brandon Ayuk, like I said, this over 3.5 or under 3.5 receptions at plus 105. This is on Caesars. Is going to be my player prop. It's my favorite play. So there's a couple reasons for this. One, so this is going to be Trey Lance's third start in the NFL. So if you look up Brandon Ayuk stats, so like I said, he's played 2 games. The first game he played was this week 5 against Arizona. He only had 4 targets, 2 receptions. Last week in his second start, he had 4 receptions on 6 targets. So he's gone over that total 1 of 2 games. And that Houston game was a little weird where San Francisco just struggled to do anything to start the game. Eventually, they were able to kind of put it on the Texans late, but that 23-7 score is a little bit inflated because, like I said, the 49ers, I think they only covered for like less than 2 minutes of that game. So it was closer than it looked the whole game. And they really just struggled to do anything. So I think this is going to be a game where they're going to try to lean a lot heavier on the run game to try and establish a little bit of rhythm for Trey Lance, and they're going to use him in the play action, kind of rolling out. And to me, this screams like a heavy Deebo Samuel game. So the Rams, obviously, who San Francisco is playing, they have probably one of the best cover corners in the league in Jalen Ramsey. I think he's going to end up covering Ayuk more often than not because the 49ers love to move Deebo Samuel around so much. So he'll take snaps out of the slot. He's obviously been incredibly productive as a running back. So I'm not necessarily saying that Jalen Ramsey is going to shadow Brandon Ayuk, but I do think he's going to draw him in coverage more often than not because how the 49ers love to move around Deebo. So this player prop, Brandon Ayuk under 3.5 receptions on Caesars Sportsbook, is going to be my player prop of the day, the $100 one. And just looking at the math behind it, so the OddsJam perfect line has it at minus 128. If you take out the VIG, that gives it about a 52.4% chance of winning. And we're getting that at plus 105 with the implied win percentage of a plus 105 bet being a little under 50%. So that's the math behind it. I think it's a really good play. Obviously, as you can see on my screenshot here, this is going to be my player prop of the day. And the last one I have the least analysis for. I'm taking the under for this Giants-Washington football team game. I mean, I don't have a ton of logic to it. I do have a ton of logic to it, not a ton of analysis, I should say. What I'm getting it is at the under 39.5 on BetMGM. This had the highest difference between the OddsJam perfect line at minus 139 and what I'm getting it at. The first reason why I really like this bet, just look at the Giants' schedule recently. Since Brandon, their quarterback, Daniel Jones got hurt. He got hurt in this Eagles game, 13 points, 9 points, 21 points, but 14 of these, I believe, were late in the fourth quarter. Yep. When the game was already out of hand. 6 points, 10 points, 3 points. Highlighted by this 3 points last week against the Bears, where Joe Judge, if you want to laugh, look up the stuff Joe Judge was saying after this game. He's saying that they're not a clown show, that people are calling, people that left the Giants to make more money are calling him, wishing that they had stayed. He gets these calls every week, apparently. And he called the previous tenure, he called them out thinking that they quit, even though if you look at that team, they won their last 2 games. So the Giants are just an absolute train wreck clown show. I hope they keep Joe Judge as an Eagles fan. So fading the Giants offense is incredibly profitable. Another reason why I really like it is, so I looked up the weather. So the weather is supposed to be really bad for this game. That's kind of why there's a low total in general, but I can't see there being 40 points in this game. Wind gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. It's going to be cold. There's a chance of rain or sleet. I just think both teams are out of the playoffs. I just think these teams aren't even going to bother showing up. They're going to run the ball. They're just going to try and have this game end. So the Giants football team under 39.5, like I said, that's going to be my player prop, my game prop, my favorite play of the day. As you can see the screenshot here at minus 125 on BetMGM. So Just to recap, my lock is going to be the Chargers money line. You can get that at -155 on Barstool, BetRivers, Unibet, and WynnBet. My underdog is going to be Seattle plus 240 on PointsBet. My player prop is going to be Brandon Ayuk under 3.5 receptions plus 105 on Caesars. And my game prop is going to be the Giants football team under 125 on BetMGM. And that's all I got for you. So I would love to hear feedback about what picks you agreed with and didn't agree with, what I said wrong, where my logic went wrong. You can hit me up on Twitter at Matt_OddsJam. You can also email me, Matthew@oddsjam.com. And you're also more than happy to comment on the YouTube videos under there. I try to monitor that as much as I can. And other than that, please make sure to follow me on Twitter, rate, review, subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel. Definitely helps us out a lot. And that's all I got for you. So happy betting, happy watching, and good luck.